For our next story, I was down on the Detroit River, and instead of chasing walleyes around, I was actually taking part in one of the more unique stories I've ever been involved with. Today I was tagging along with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, hoping to band a bald eagle.
Many people around the state have noticed a dramatic increase in the number of bald eagles. This once rarely seen bird can now be found on just about every major water system throughout the state. So I set out to learn more about this increase and also get up close and personal with an eagle family on the Detroit River, tagging along with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Eagle Banding Team.
Historically, there were 3 areas in the state which harbored eagle populations back in the 50s and 60s. One was in the central UP, one was in the northern lower, and one was essentially outside of Michigan in Ohio. And from those 3 areas, the population has spread out from there. And particularly down here in southern lower Michigan, the population is really starting to grow and moving south further. And so larger numbers are occurring down in the south here. The habitats are pretty much, the prime habitats are occupied, and now we're finding eagles in, and doing successfully in, habitats that would be considered suboptimal. We're finding them in agricultural areas and fence rows. We're finding them on golf courses. We're finding them in small airports. We're finding them in backyard situations. And they seem to be coexisting quite well with the human presence. Part of the reason is that they do nest really early in the year when most humans aren't out and about doing much. So there is this period of low human density outside at the time when they're breeding. So that possibly has led to some use of what would be considered suboptimal habitat.
The nest we were investigating today was more than 70 feet off of the ground, and on this windy day, just reaching the nest was no easy feat. I had our climber, Jeremy Moore, take me through the process of preparing for the climb.
You know, you get a little excited, you get a little adrenaline flow knowing you're going to be climbing. You know, it's not a natural state for a human being to be climbing in a tree per se, but you know, you're safe as your equipment, and our equipment is safe, and we trust our equipment. So, so it's a matter of ascending the tree, being as calm and collected as I can, trying not to overexert myself. So when I do get to the nest, you know, I'm in a good, calm state of mind, and I can, you know, do my best to secure the eaglet and ensuring that it's, you know, it's safe and it's lowered to the ground safely, and the measurements are taken of the bird down on the ground.
Once Jeremy made it to the nest, only half of the work was done. Now it was time to secure the eaglet and lower it to the ground where a more complete examination could be done.
Take a few moments when I get to the nest to let the bird get accustomed to me slightly. Initially, obviously, they're a little surprised to see a human being at eye level with them, so I'll you know, take a little bit of a breather, get myself further adjusted, and make sure I'm secure when I'm going to make my attempt at obtaining the bird. And once I'm secure, I'll open up the bird bag, the eagle bag that we used, which is a nylon material, lightweight, and I'll open it up, have it clipped to the rope, and have that ready. And I have what's called basically a farmer's chicken hook, which is adapted, and it's on a telescoping pole. And I'll run that you know, at the bottom, below the bird, and hook onto above one of its talons, and continue to apply pressure and pull the bird toward me. And when I do that, typically the bird will lie prone and lie down. And then when it does that, I'll grab that talon that I have the chicken hook around, and then I'll try to reach and grab the other talon and get both talons in one, or at least a grip above each of the talons in one hand, and then try to grab one of the primaries of one of the wings and have that in the same hand as well. So basically I've got a wing and both talons under control, and at that point I'll use my free hand and try to position the bird so it goes in the bag head first and cover the head. Typically when you cover the head of a bird, it'll calm down. And they are fairly calm anyway, but it's in a more secure state at that point. And once I have it in the bag, I stitch it down and get ready to lower it down to the ground.
Once the bird hits the ground, Dave and the rest of the team scramble to get the necessary tests done as fast as possible to ensure the eaglet returns to the nest quickly.
Well, we've been biomonitoring eagles in Michigan, doing collection of samples for contaminant analysis since the mid-1980s in one form or another. So we've been going at it for quite a few years now. So our involvement has been in both monitoring nest sites as well as collection of samples in the extreme southern lower peninsula of Michigan. So we try and do as many nest sites as possible that are on the priority list, and the priority list are some of the major river systems as well as the Great Lakes shorelines and a select few watersheds. So we collect blood, which we use both for heavy metals in the whole blood and spun down serum for organic chlorines, pesticides, DDT, dieldrin, PCBs. We also take a few breast feathers that we do mercury on. We take some blood droplets for DNA sampling. And we do a series of physical measurements at age and sex the eaglets to within a few days of aging anywhere, and somewhat reliable sexing as long as the birds are fairly old, probably over 45 days, and then we can sex them pretty accurately.
It's hard to believe that this eagle wasn't even 2 months old, and although his looks would say otherwise, he was still quite young. Young eagles are something we are likely to continue seeing more of in the near future.
Up through this year, the population has steadily increased and is probably well over 800 breeding pairs throughout throughout both the lower and the upper peninsulas. This year alone in the lower peninsula, we've added over 40 new breeding pairs in Michigan. So the population is really taking over.
This pair of eagles have been using this site for the past 4 years, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has banded eaglets here for the past 3. It was really something to see an eagle on the ground, and the views from the nest are views that most people will never see. Special thanks to everyone involved and to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for letting me tag along.